Stuart Rankin, Theological Education Institute. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I just want to introduce an upcoming video series which I'm excited about and I believe will be impactful. 13 years ago, I remember sitting in my dad's office proofreading a book he had just written, The 6 Pillars of Biblical Power. These 6 pillars encapsulate or express my dad's core theological understandings from the Bible and expressions of ministry, which he lived out over many years. And I believe that these pillars are relevant today, perhaps more than they were 13 years ago, although the gospel is universal and always in need in the world. But my father labored here. He labored on these. He labored for people to understand the Bible because he was convinced that when people would really see the Bible on its own terms, and not just from outside maybe wrong understandings or interpretations, but when we really come face to face with the Word that the living God has given us, that has the power to transform us and to contribute to the church being the church on the earth. And that's the time that we're living in. The church is the answer. The church is the answer. Jesus is the only solution. But in his many years of labor, he would often talk about creation, sin, and redemption. Now, those are theological words that can get right away perhaps the ears say that's too abstract for me. But that is the overarching understanding of the Bible, that we start with a good creation. There's a wholeness. There's a place where everything was right. And sin, of course, disrupts that. And then there's a restoration. And that's the overarching biblical narrative. But in creation, things are simple. There's a simplicity to it. There's a truthfulness. There's an honesty. Sin brings in dishonesty. It brings in deceit, needless complexities, and human suffering and pain. Restoration restores us to this original simplicity and honesty. And that's what this world needs. That's what we as believers, among many other things, can contribute in our time that seems so desperately looking for hope, looking for a way out of this. And the Lord has equipped his church with this. I like to think also of this creation, sin, and redemption understanding like health, sickness, and recovery. So I don't know how many of you have ever been to a chiropractor, but you know that when you go, you get some things tweaked and you realize, wow, things were off, but you get tweaked back to the original. And the chiropractor, of course, has to know what the original is in order to fix you. And my father had that same emphasis. We need to understand the design, which the DNA of that is found in Genesis, and then the actual healing process is found in Jesus, and those are in the pillars as well. But you need to have an understanding of what the design is to get us back on track. I remember a few years ago, I had some pain in my body, so I went to a physical therapist, chiropractor of sort, and he had me stand up to look at my posture. And as he did, I remember feeling, I don't think I'm standing in the proper way. And I sure wasn't. I didn't know what the proper way was. And so he started and he showed me with my feet and even how I had to visualize it internally, pressing in on the insides of my feet, and then the knees would come out a little bit, and then all the way up, and my shoulders and my arms would hang down and my neck back. And it was very natural. It was very strange. But then all of a sudden, I could feel the relief. I could feel this feels more correct. And I often go back to that when I realize, oh, my posture's off or I have some pain in my body. And it's because we go back to the original. And so that was his labor over the years. And these 6 pillars, 4, as my father defined them, are found right there in the first 2 chapters of Genesis. And the other 2 are found in the ministry of Jesus. and together they empower the church to be the church. And so that's my hope. I hope you'll stay tuned and come along for the journey, and because God has called us to be His partners in this world, and it's for such a time as this. And just listing the powers at the end, we have the power to give, the power to live in the light, informed choice, to love hard questions, to love our enemies, and to forgive. Taken together, this is a solid foundation for the church in this time. So stay tuned, looking forward, and God bless.